policy expert and a frequent commentator on national issues. Prof, a chaotic church service in Othaya. What do you make of what happened yesterday?
That was an extremely unfortunate incident that should never take place in a country that claims to be democratic. It was thoughtless. A place of worship is a place of reflection. It's a place also where you can say it's a place of forgiveness. It's a sacred place. So for the government to invade it, and then he tried to pretend as anyone else. When we saw of them with the AK-47s, we have seen the clips. This is very unfortunate because it also reminds us what happens in Gamba in 207. Women and children were burnt in a church. So if that kind of, they are trying to create a pre-election violence in probably an attempt to scare people, it won't work, and it's very sad. Because also when you create fear, fear only works if people believe it's temporary. But the moment people start thinking it is permanent, then they start organizing resistance against you. So I think they should stop it, because that was a government operation, and the government needs to stop. The government should never be involved in crime.
Prof, when you say that was a government operation, the government says through its National Police Service that it is investigating what happened. Rivals of the impeached Deputy President, the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, say he stage managed. You don't buy that as a concept?
No, you can't buy that, because, I mean, you have seen the clips, you have seen them shooting vehicles. Where can thugs invade a church with guns and tear gas? I mean, honestly, I think they should stop insulting our intelligence. That's not fair. They should respect Kenyans, okay? If there was a mistake made by the chain of command, they should go directly to that mistake and stop other excuses. Because we saw it. I mean, we saw it on TV. We have seen them in social media. And you can see this clearly on JK vehicle. These are clearly police officers. But what are they telling us? We are completely lawless now? That we can have armed people roaming around with the tear gas who the government does not know. You know, that is a very dangerous anti-mission, because it will chase investors. When investors see that kind of thing, whether local or international, and then the government says that is not aware, who is going to come to Kenya? That's dangerous. It's better they say there was a mistake. Those people didn't should not have done it, then go after them. But they can't tell us they don't know. that is not a very clever statement, yes.
Prof, let me interject you there. Who stands to politically benefit from this chaos? If the government says they're still investigating, the former Deputy President is certain that it was done by the government. In these back and forth, in these squabbles, who stands to politically benefit, if any?
Well, first of all, only the government has the power to carry guns. We don't give guns to civilians. You saw them shooting vehicles. So the number one, on the government can make that kind of an operation. Individuals cannot. That's why we have National Intelligence Service. That's why we have CID, so that anybody planning a crime is apprehended even before they commit it. But if they can embrace and come in the broad daylight, throw tear gas and get away, is the government in a misguided belief that they can create fear, okay? And then that fear will lead the people probably to not participating in the election. This is election related, and it is wrong. It should not happen in this day and age. People have struggled to have a society where political contestation is by the mouth, is not by rungus and guns. So to return us to the new era, where you have to use guns in order to be armed, is to do Kenyan disservice. I think people should be able to settle their agenda without the violence. This country needs peace. And we also need the people who need to respect the Kenyans to interpret what is happening. You see, if the agenda is to scare Kenyans and make sure Gachagua doesn't go to any church because people run away because they are afraid of being tear gassed, they may actually force them to even go more. You see, what happens when the political leaders are humiliated, and this happened a lot with Raila. Every time Raila was humiliated, the Luos followed him even more. So every time we humiliate that Gachagua, you are forcing the Kikuyus to follow him. Because that's just what happens when you humiliate their leader, you humiliate the community.
All right.
So the intimidation tactics are not very clever tactics.
Professor, this is not the first time the
In governance, that's not how you govern.
Professor, this is not the first time the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua has been tear-gassed. He says this is a systematic government way of dealing with him, which begs the question, why Gachagua? Is it because, as some say, he is a consequential opposition leader ahead of the 2027 polls?
Precisely, there has been many, but I think you need to look deeper. I think what they want to do is to divert attention from who they think is actually a more serious candidate into Gachagua, because by now having him covered the way he was covered yesterday in all the radios, the TVs and so on, is an attempt to elevate him. I think that is one reason. The other reason, he may be simply directed at his community, just to frighten them, so that if Gachagua come to any church, people just run away because they are afraid of being tear-gassed or being shot. So there are two things here. Either they want to lift him, make him consequential, because you have to remember that the Mount Kenya region, and he left UDA when Gachagua was there. They didn't leave after Gachagua was impeached. Gachagua is the one who is following them. So it can't be that he is so important, so significant, because even if Gachagua were to be presidential candidate, I'm not persuaded that people are already, they will vote for him. I think there's a different interpretation here. I think what is happening here is either they want to elevate Gachagua, or they want to undermine him because he is effective. His communication is dangerous, and therefore there is an attempt to undermine him. But I think it is wrong. That's not how you do it. Just sell your program, tell us your success, and then we will vote for you. You don't have to tear-gas people in the church. You don't have to create fear. That is not how governance is done. And I think making people fearful and generating hate is not a very clever way of getting legitimacy, because in government is about legitimacy.
And Professor, in a country where political victimization is often translated to a political goal scoring and point picking, does he benefit from this in reference to Rigathi Gachagua, the person, the tear-gas notwithstanding?
No, he does. Gachagua in a way doesn't benefit, because the Kenyans don't like oppression. You see, the Mount Kenya people supported Ruto heavily because they saw that he was being oppressed by Uhuru Kenyatta. So you can generate sympathy that way. Because people don't like betrayal, they don't like oppression. People want you to deal with other people fairly. Because you see, the danger of lawlessness is that they can spread. Remember, it's not just the police, but the police plus goons. Now, if these goons are not the police themselves, they are actually civilians. What happens here is the government is outsourcing now the right to use violence to civilians. Those civilians, at one time, you may not be able to control them. You remember Mungiki, the way Mungiki was created during Moi era. Eventually, Mungiki went out of control, and it became a problem to the government, especially to Kibaki government. So government should never outsource its obligations to protect the people and the property. It should never do that, because once the government enters that arena, then it has created a problem for itself and for its people.
All right, Professor GITILE NAITULI is our guest tonight. He's a governance and policy analyst, a frequent commentator on the country's politics. Time for us to take a short break. We will be back with this discussion after the break. Stay with us. Still ahead, in the aftermath of the chaos witnessed in the pulpit in Othaya on Sunday, one question persists, and it is the main focus of our Power and Politics interview tonight. who sponsored the goons.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Ouma every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV 47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV 47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV 47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear guy. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
Walikutoka.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Mimi ni simpa. Hiyo naona nakubali.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV 47.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Frederick. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Frederick is my name.
We are flipping the script, but guess what? Or should I say, guess who is taking over tonight's show?
Ani wewe furahia umekaa na kasipuni. CP unit ni
Punet. So you guys knew about
Piga.
Sawa basi. Nasema that I'm giving the whole time.
I don't want to go back to brokenness.
Never.
I just love the high life. Siwezi taka kuimagine ati nimesota.
You have to watch to find out. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV 47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv.
I became a national champion in 800 meters. I went to Accra, Ghana. I think that was my first senior championship. I became number 4 in the finals. We went to Cameroon. I brought silver medal. Sasa ni kama klasi yangu ilikuwa track. Nilishindwa na hiyo klasi ingine ni track. It's not an easy job, let me say so. You have to balance the family affairs and the track affairs, you know. Chana kutaka kwa uwanja, mtoto na kutaka kwa nyumba. So it's not an easy thing, but you have to sacrifice a lot. It's all about giving out your best. You sacrifice a lot. You'll have to explain to them like, I'll not be there with you for such and such a time, but when I'll be done with this athletics, I'll be with them, yeah. So in athletics, you might win today, tomorrow you're not a winner. But that doesn't mean that fans should should lose hope on you. No.
No, Your Heroes is sponsored by Daka Natatua. 30% of proceeds go towards nurturing talent at grassroots level.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us here on the Daily Report on TV 47. We are making sense of the happenings of yesterday in Othaya, where chaotic church service saw tear gas lobbed in the church. Now, church leaders and worshippers who witnessed the chaos of Witima ACK Church in Nyeri County are still coming to terms with what they describe as a traumatizing ordeal. The church leadership has condemned the incident, terming it a discretion of a house of worship. Take a look.
They were able to destroy part of our church with the bullets, and they broke the windows with tear gas canisters. Fortunately, nobody was injured, although they suffered the effects of the tear gas. I want to thank God that nobody was caught by the bullets that hit either the church. I can show you around and you see the damage from the live bullets, but we thank God that nobody was hit by the bullets.
Hapo huko ndani wakina mama wote wajua, watu walianza kuiba na hiyo nini, hiyo harufu ya nini, wengine walikuwa wamelala chini, watoto wamelala chini. Hata nikaona nini, pasta amechukua watoto ameanza kuwaocha na maji, halafu kuwapaguza kwa macho, na akawatoa anawapeleka kwa wale kwa madhabahu, aliwalalisha hapo wote. So ilikuwa baya kabisa.
Well, let's make sense of what happened yesterday. And before the break, we did engage Professor GITILE NAITULI on what happened yesterday. He's a governance and policy analyst. Professor, let's continue with the discussion. The Honorable Gachagua says he is the kingpin of Central politically. He is on record saying he has 7 million votes ahead of the 2027 polls. For someone who is facing such kind of a government backlash, really, from his political stronghold, how should he interpret what happened yesterday as?
First of all, he's not the kingpin. Mount Kenya people don't like kingpins. Uhuru never became one, Kibaki never became one. Here is where leaders follow the people. So he can say whatever he wants about him having 7 million votes also. That one I don't know, because this community is fairly educated, and everybody will settle their program to them. They won't be able to judge that time when the time comes for voting. Now, the innovation of the church is traumatizing to those children. If you have seen that, no government shouldn't do that to the young generation, because those fellows, those young people who are in there, they'll be like animal. Animal eventually destroyed Rome because of what the Romans did to him when he was a baby. So you don't traumatize children, do any young guys, you know, in the church. Women come with their children doing there. Tiangas can give small babies because it's very dangerous gas. So the way we see it, we just can't make sense about it, because you cannot see any responsible leader ordering that kind of an operation. If they want Gachagua, they should go and get him in his home, not in the church where there is innocent people who have come to commune with God. Then suddenly their own government is all over with live bullets and the tear gas is wrong.
Professor, you say he's not the kingpin. He's on record saying no one will be elected on another party apart from his. He's quite confident that he is speaking to the region politically, isn't he?
Yeah, but you can be confident. I mean, he's a politician, so he can express his confidence, but the reality can also be different. There are many parties in Mount Kenya. I mean, there's DCP, yes, but there's PLP, there is party PNU, there is a lot of parties. Some of them are called no peo. I don't know what that is supposed to mean. So he can't say everybody must go in his party, but he has a right to say that. You see, Article 37 of the Constitution gives everybody the right to popularize and sell their party, and they say that I'm the only one, like he is saying. That is his political right. Nobody should begrudge him for that. That's what you are saying. Others should also go and they say, you are only going to be elected on my party. That is their also right. So they cannot take that as an offense. It's allowed by law. It's right under Article 38. And remember, the Bill of Rights, Chapter 4 of the Constitution, those rights are given by God. They are not given by government. So they cannot be violated because somebody is exercising that right.
And Professor, finally, just on the question of what happened yesterday and contextually to the politics of Central Kenya, given that the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua is equally on record having said he is the one who made the president, William Ruto, the president, and given that he is not in that equation now, should the president be worried?
I think he shouldn't be worried because what happened in Central Kenya engages people by performance. That is why it's very rare to get an MP from Mount Kenya region, especially the Gikuyu side of Mount Kenya, to be elected twice, unless the fellow actually delivers. So their problem they have with Ruto is because he was not able to deliver in the first year. They had already started abandoning him together with Gachagua. When these people abandoned Ruto, they abandoned him when he was with Gachagua. I don't believe these people will change their mind. I think what is going to happen is the president will come to the mountain, they will welcome him. If he has the money is distributing, they will probably also take it. But eventually in the ballot there, they will not vote for him. That I know. Once these people make their decision, it's like they make it with the finality. They made the decision about Uhuru and they rejected his choice. They made the decision about Moi, and they didn't bother. They left. They lost the election with Moi 3 times, and they still stayed. They were still against him. So the moment they abandon Alinda, at least what the history shows, they don't go back. And I doubt they can. Of course, the president still has 2 years. He can still fulfill his promises. He can still convince them because he still has time. He's still on the seat. He still has resources. He has parliament. So he may be able to get what is the political credit that he has lost. But I can tell you he has massively lost the credit, and it has nothing to do with the Gachagua's impeachment. They had already concluded that the way he was governing, he cannot deliver. Right. And they had started running away from him, even before Gachagua was impeached.
All right, Prof, we saw today the President William Ruto, chairing the National Governing Council of the United Democratic Alliance, which ratified and approved the proposed coalition talks with ODM. It's a season, some say, of political swallowing of each other. Who between UDA and ODM is set to swallow the other in your view?
I think ODM is being swallowed, but there is really no ODM. ODM died with Raila Odinga. You see, ODM was national because, in this country, let's just face the facts. This country, we vote tribal blocks. Uhuru Kenyatta was brought to power by Kalenjin Kikuyu Alliance. William Ruto was brought to power by Kalenjin Kikuyu Alliance. So what's happening here, ODM was made of Luos, Luyas, and Kambas. The Luyas and the Kambas have already left. So what you have now is the Luo right now making a coalition agreement with William Ruto. But not all the Luos, because the Luo, within that Luos, there is what we call progressives. These are people who believe in the founding principles of ODM. ODM was founded as a pro-poor people party. Pro the down Turundani Kenyans. That's why it has following in Nairobi and other urban areas. Now, the people who are making alliance, these people have joined UDA, which in Western language is called far-right party. ODM is actually a far left or a center left. Now, that is a contradiction. So you will be making an agreement with a section of the Luo side of ODM. The progressive side will join the opposition. The Luyas and the Kambas have already left ODM. So it is actually that union is inconsequential in mathematics of the election because of the way we vote.
And Prof, given that we saw the president appoint the late former Prime Minister's wife, Mama Ida Odinga, as the permanent representative of the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, and given this was interpreted as an attempt to quell the factions, the glaring dividing factions within ODM, is she expected to have some political weight on what happens?
Yes, that was a very clever move by the president. Because you see, in the NDC which is coming, Oginga Burundinga, with Winnie Odinga very likely was going to beat him in NDC. And Winnie Odinga is one of the progressive forces within ODM. So by appointing the mother, he could have neutered the ability of Winnie Odinga to challenge her uncle. So that was a clever move, and I think it could work for William Ruto in order to keep the section of the low ODM side who want to be with him. It was a clever move.
And Professor, finally, if this is an attempt by the president to make losses and gains of the votes that he may have lost elsewhere, how effective will bringing ODM to a coalition agreement with UDA be in his pursuit for 2027?
That is not effective because we have to look at what Luo Nyanza gave Raila in the last election, because this is a question really of Luo Nyanza. The Luo Nyanza gave Raila 1.3 million votes, the 4 Luo counties. Now, the Kikuyus gave Raila 1.4 million in the last election. So, assuming even ODM was intact, and he inherited it, and he only got the 1.3, and those Kikuyu 4 million go back this way, that cancels out. So, and then you have to take the question of Nairobi, Mombasa. Unless they are to import voters into Nairobi, they can't win a single seat in Nairobi, because ODM wins in Nairobi as a result of Kambas and Luyas. That combination becomes very crucial. But now that combination is no longer there. So what I think the opposition may have to do, if I can advise them through this one, is they have to watch. They are going to be importing voters from outside Nairobi County into Nairobi. That's what I would do if I was William Ruto and I have the money. I would just go and get Rogana, go and get some Zamburus, even get some Kalenjins from Rift Valley, and then populate the constituencies. That way, you can counter the fact that the Kambas and the Luyas have left. But you have to remember, where will you put them? Because it's illegal to import the voters. If you bring people from Northern Nairobi, you also have to accommodate them. Okay. They won't be seen. They won't be in buses. People will photograph them. So it's complicated. I think ODM is not really going to be very useful to the president. If I were to advise him, he should try to make amends with him, with Kikuyus. That may help.
Professor, because of the interest of time, we will have to end it there. Professor GITILE NAITULI is a governance and policy analyst, a frequent commentator on national matters. We earlier talked of the chaos in the Othaya church yesterday. We made sense finalizing on the state of the nation, the proposed ODM-UDA talks. Let's get to the world of business.